morning again, and welcome to another episode of Old Men in Chairs. You know, a couple days ago, I did the Chris Webby video from March of 2020 called Quarantine. And I'd like to continue the theme by going back to the same month and see what our friend Tom MacDonald was doing. He had a song out a couple days after Chris called Coronavirus. I think it's really important to listen to our artists. Our artists see things that we oftentimes miss, and I think Tom here saw a lot of what was coming and was willing to talk about it, which is his hallmark. He is willing to talk about things that most people would prefer not to hear about. I do have my Hangover Gang t-shirt on, but to be honest, it's getting a little nippy in my recording studio since it's not heated.
I don't know what to think about this virus. Started in China, now everybody in America's hiding. There's no groceries cause people start to panic and buy it. The shelves are empty, the ones with plenty already stockpiling. Y'all making memes, think it's funny? Wait a week till the riots. Wait a month till the only way to eat is be violent. It's not the sickness is scary, it's all the people who whining. The government lying, they're trying to keep us calm through the sirens.
At first, Tom is talking about the empty shelves in the grocery stores, and if you remember, if you were around in March 2020, that was starting to happen, at least with toilet paper. And for some reason, people went crazy for toilet paper and bought all they could get. We never had that many shortages in our local grocery stores. And so his more dire prediction about, needing to have violence to get food, fortunately, didn't come true. On the other hand, some of his other predictions were right on point.
It's not the sickness is scary, it's all the people who whining. The government lying, they're trying to keep us calm through the sirens. You know it's for real. And all the pharmaceutical giants don't have a cure that they can sell you, so now everyone's dying. There's no vaccines or medication made that can fight it. I guess it's time to pray to God we can't rely on the science.
Well, I'm not going to agree with everything that Tom said, but it's understandable given all the lies that we were told in the first part of 2020. It was very hard to sort out what the actual truth is. Now we know that there were drugs that could have helped us, but they were being actively suppressed. Ivermectin is one, hydrochloroquine another. Big Pharma, they had a plan to roll out a worldwide vaccine, and they didn't want any other cures out there because then they would have been able to get an emergency use authorization. I hope I'm not getting too deep in the weeds on this, but these are important issues, and with midterm elections 1 week away, I hope people will not forget all the health officials and the government officials who lied to us and the media who spread all those lies. And I'm hoping that there will be a rebound of common sense in this country.
Vaccines or medication made that can fight it. I guess it's time to pray to God we can't rely on the science. And everyone around me in a mask and some gloves. The stock market crashed and the bank's about to bust. Tell us sanitize our hands, this will pass. It's a bug, stay inside, you'll be fine till we're trapped there for months.
Well, that one certainly did come true. We were 2 weeks to flatten the curve became almost 2 years of government quarantine and rules, and then that evolved into, well, we'll let you out of your trap if you go along with the vaccine. Otherwise, you're a second-class citizen, and we're still going to restrict you as much as possible.
Let's sanitize our hands, this will pass. It's a bug, stay inside, you'll be fine till we're trapped there for months. It's a ghost town, we're in this together. They're closing all the stores down, we're heading for shelter. It's all war now, they'll always remember. When locking all our doors down, we're sticking together. It's all ghost town.
I don't really like autotune, but I gotta say, Tom uses autotune very, very effectively, probably as well as any artist I've ever known. And at first I didn't even hear what he was saying in that last phrase, but he's basically with the heavy auto-tune saying it's a ghost town. That was true of so many towns across America in that period. I kept my store open. I have a small print shop. But it was a ghost town. There was only 2 or 3 of us open on the entire main street. Everyone else is closed down. Of course, the big guys, the big grocery stores, the Walmarts, the Targets, and the liquor stores were all allowed to stay open in New York State. But so many people had to shut down their businesses, and small businesses can't really afford that. It's very difficult, and we're still struggling to keep our heads above water. Because my print shop relies on other businesses mainly as my clients. So when they're not open and doing business, I'm not getting the business.
This a pandemic, but we don't listen to the news cause they lied to us for years, so how we know that this the truth? And most of us are young enough to think that we're immune, so we just pass it on to people who won't survive it like you. It's either worse than they're telling us or it's nothing at all. But the school shut down, a ghost town in the mall. They go quarantine the city, block the road out of Dodge, then tell us leaving our homes is actually breaking the law.
Yeah, they did do that. They arrested people for going to the beach or going to the park and told them they weren't allowed to do that. So Tom was right on point on that. I don't necessarily agree with everything he said there. Again, because of the disinformation that was being pumped out 24/7 during that period, he may have not understood exactly what was going on at that moment. He corrected that fairly quickly with a lot of later songs, so I'm not going to give him a hard time about it. Tom likes to straddle the middle ground, so he'll make a statement such as they're going to lock us in our house and tell us that we can't go out. But then he'll kind of balance it out and talk about how we're all in this together and we need to come together, which is a fine message in any crisis. But you have to realize when you're being played by large evil forces in the world and not buy into all of their propaganda.
They go quarantine the city, block the road out of Dodge, then tell us leaving our homes is actually breaking the law. This is just the beginning, it's gotta get worse. If the doctors get sick, the hospitals won't work. The conspiracy theories all sound like facts, that's for sure. But the fact is we're trapped on this planet called Earth. And the bleach gone, the bread gone, the water sold out, the meat gone, the milk gone, the pasta sold out. Don't leave anything for anyone, you hoard it for yourself. You'd rather tell them go to hell than be a man and go in hell. It's a ghost town, we're in this together. They're closing all the stores down, we're heading for shelter. It's all war now, they'll always remember. We're locking all our doors down, we're sticking together. We're hoping for the best, but we're preparing for the worst. There's one thing we're not scared of, is hard work. We're up against an enemy that doesn't have a face. There's no bombs we can drop, there's nowhere we can aim. There's no soldiers to stop with a tank at the gates. There's no cure that we've got or a pill we can take. There's no food, it's been bought, the truth is we're afraid. We sit inside our rooms and we pray. It's a ghost town, we're in this together.
Don't necessarily agree with everything that he said there. I think there is an enemy. They hide themselves pretty well, but for those who want to find out who's behind all the lies and behind all the deception, it's not that hard to figure. You could start with Dr. Fauci and the other members of the CDC and the FDA, and then you can trace the influence back through Big Pharma, Bill Gates, the World Economic Forum, and who knows what's really behind them other than large, huge amounts of money. The biggest wealth transfer in the history of the world has occurred in the last 2 years as the big get bigger and bigger and the small are wiped out. So there's a real enemy there. It's just maybe a little too early for Tom to see it in March of 2020. So he comes out with a message of unity. Nothing wrong with that.
We sit inside our rooms and we pray. It's a ghost town, we're in this together. They're closing all the stores down, we're heading for shelter. It's all war now, they'll always remember. We're locking all our doors down, we're sticking together.
MacDonald's coronavirus came out in March of 2020, and a lot of truth in there, along with a few disinformations that have later discovered were propaganda and lies. But with the election coming up next week, I sincerely hope that people will remember those politicians who locked us down needlessly and who corrupted our system of government and trampled all over our First Amendment rights to speak and locked us up and forced us to wear masks and tried to force us to take an experimental treatment. People like our own Kathy Hochul here in New York, or Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. It would be my fondest hope that these petty tyrants get removed next week. I guess it's too much to hope that they knock off Gavin Newsom in California, but he's one of the worst. So, people, this is very important. Get out and vote next week. And please, do not support tyrants. We don't need tyrants in this country. Never have, never will.